Hello, welcome. It is the final word, the first one of the season. I'll be honest, not a final word that I anticipated the other day. No, some people did. Some people thought Brighton would win comfortably. I didn't. Joined by Paul Nealon from Irish Football Fan TV. Make sure you give him a follow. Check him out. Big on TikTok, loves loads of dancing. Great. Paul, I mean, day one, home game, Brighton. Opportunity to start the season positive, even though they're a good side. Opportunity to start the season positively, and didn't really play out like that, did it?
No, but I did think there was a lot of optimism, thinking, I don't know why we do it, but we get our hopes up every year, thinking something might change. We won't go full in detail, because I'm sure we will as we go through it, but yeah, you were thinking until you heard the lineup, and then it was like, same old. Because we had the new signings there, you're thinking that some of them might get a chance, and there's that little bit of freshness in the squad and the 11 and stuff like that. But as you know, when it came close to kick-off time, we got the lineup and everyone went, oh. I think everybody was thinking the same thing once we saw the lineup, to be honest with you, and it kind of killed any of the optimism.
It's that it is. I think sometimes it can be overlooked, can't it? That what a new face can do, or for the fans going into the stadium and looking at the team, and a little bit of freshness. And because we had a couple of attacking players and he was just on the bench, and obviously we had Jake O'Brien, who we brought in and scored a couple of goals pre-season. He was on the bench. It does sort of kill it a little bit.
And obviously he played the 90 then against Roma, so you're thinking the continuity and the fact that we had a decent performance against them, that the team might pick itself, but obviously not with Dyche, You mentioned there about like fresh faces. I even remember when Beto signed last year and we were crying out for a forward, he came on, he scored. It was a Doncaster,
yeah.
And you kind of remember that, and you kind of go, like, that's what you mean about like a fresh face coming in. And all of a sudden at that stage we had won a game, and there was a bit of like, this fella looks good, There's actually a reason to be excited for the next game. And he didn't pan out to be the answer, but just being in terms of that initial kind of just bringing in somebody new who like opponents haven't seen too much of and stuff like that, and see how they do in this team. And unfortunately we were met with what we're used to.
It's frustrating, isn't it? Because I know, okay, he went with Michael Keane over Jake O'Brien because he's worked with Keane before. Everyone will have their own opinion on whether he should have or he shouldn't have. But someone like Illiman and Dye, from an attacking perspective, something a bit different, because when you go through scenarios, don't you mean? And it's always, if it's 1-1 with half an hour left, get and die on to win it or something like that. But how about putting them on at the start and winning the game? You know what I mean? And really giving Brighton something to think about, because they put Yankuba Minter in it. We had a manager with no Premier League experience playing a right winger with no Premier League experience. And they're the ones on the team bus driving home with a 3-0 win, and we've got a manager who's obsessed with Premier League experience. And the irony of all that is that the lad who's got no Premier League experience with Everton was Everton's best player, which is which was Iroegbunam. But just that freshness sometimes gives you that little real boost, doesn't it? And gives Brighton something to think about.
I think that's popping the air out of the balloon was the way he did that with the lineup, because everyone's thinking maybe like he's played in the Championship, so he has kind of experience in playing British football, or English football, if you want to call it that. And so you're thinking that he's probably the most likely of, but for none of them to play, it kills the optimism, in my opinion. And yeah, it's just, you're struggling, going, right, well, are we just going to kick out? Like, are we going to just be where we were a year ago at the start of the season? And ultimately, that's what happened.
I think in terms of starting the game, Everton started the game quite well. We were, I wouldn't say we were on the front foot, but Brighton trying to play out from the back, we were getting joy pressing them and closing them down. There was some risky moments from them, and I actually think a better team than us on the day would have punished them big time, because they're going to have to sharpen that up. I'm sure they will, of course they will. They're a good side, we know that. There was enough there for me, enough evidence in that opening 20 minutes that game was there for the taking, and we only really had the Jack Harrison shot when he cut in and hit it, and Steele made a good save. The only real time we properly tested him. Yes, we had a goal disallowed from Harrison, but he was offside. Then João Pedro gave us a little bit of a warning, which one that thundered against the post. But you were still sort of thinking, we're doing all right. They're doing very little really, and we're sort of looking like a bit of a threat winning the ball off them. But it was still that final third when we got in those areas that we're lacking, aren't we? We're lacking either bravery or we're lacking sheer numbers to get forward, or our decision making's really poor.
Yeah, I think we were kind of looking at it when João Pedro hit the post, and I was saying the people sitting next to me, I was like, the danger signs are there. If they score one here, we won't come back, and we've had our chances. So we need to be. It's that all saying, you know, if you don't put your chances away, you get punished, and literally that happened. I know we'll come to the goal, but at that, like, we did first 20-25 minutes, we were the better side. There's no doubt about that. We were forcing them into a lot of errors. They were kicking balls out of play, trying to get it to their players.
Yeah.
Remember Dunk kicked one way, he overhit the pass because they were messing out at the back again. But the problem is we don't score enough goals. That's evident obviously on last season, and we don't punish, and we always get punished.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you fix that. I think that's been a problem with Everton for a number of years and a number of managers. I don't think it's just Dyche. I don't remember, like, maybe Ancelotti's probably the last manager I can remember that when we went behind in games that he would get, like, not him specifically, but his side will get. We had a much better team at that stage, but since him, I don't recall too many times us coming back in games and winning games, or, you know, I think it's, if we go a goal down, you might as well leave the stadium. Like, it's become that bad.
Well, at Goodison, funny you say that, because it's over 2 years since Everton conceded the goal to the opposition and won the game. You have to go back to that night against Crystal Palace under Frank Lampard when we were 2-0 down, that we won a game. And every other game Everton have won since then, it's been with a clean sheet, whether it was with Lampard and then into Dyche. So it isn't something we've done very well. We've obviously, when, you know, I've got mates who support other clubs, and they're like, what's happening? Like, why come Everton have all of a sudden the last few years ended up where they are? And I'm like, go and look at the squad. Go look at the squad from a few years ago. You know, you just mentioned Ancelotti. Go and look at the players he had compared to now. We've sold everyone who's creative. We've sold all our goals. You know, it's no surprise, really, that we've not replaced anyone with real good goal scoring record. And yet, Ndai, last time he was in England, got 15. It was in the Championship, but he played off the striker and got 15. Yet he's on the bench, and we were the second lowest goal scorers in the Premier League last season, as good as we were defensively, and we were. And that's why when Brighton scored at the weekend, and let's be honest, it was a poor goal from our perspective. Minter does really well, but I think Michalenko's got to do so much better. He just
stuck in the mud.
It's too easy. Yeah, it's too easy for him. And then no one's picking the run of Mitoma up at the back post. You know, goes across. Tarkowski doesn't realise he's behind him. I don't know who's supposed to be, but I don't know where Ashley Young is. He's not picking him up, and the lad's got it. It was a good goal from their perspective, but from us, it's a really soft goal. And Mitoma's got a tap in from 2 yards out, something we don't do. We don't have people running. If one of our wide, imagine Harrison crossing it to McNeil to tap in, or vice versa. We don't see that because one of them would still be 20 yards outside the box.
Yeah, and it'd just be Decore and Calvert-Lewin in the box.
And
or
be
sometimes just Dan.
You know, and there was the difference, because even though I thought, you're right, I thought we were the better side, they, when they attack, have got real genuine pace, and they had almost 4, didn't they? They had João Pedro, Danny Welbeck, Mitoma and Minter, all flying forward, and that was the problem, and we don't do that, and this is something he's not been able to get right at all. The manager is that you can be solid, but if you committed 4 men into the box, you've still got 6 defenders. You ain't conceding. So I don't know why that happens. Why there's such a panic not to go forward at home. And I think it is day one. I don't want to go overboard, of course, because there's a long season, and I think actually we'll be okay. But it's just that frustration that we don't seem to have even progressed slightly with what we're doing. The results, Everton could have played outstandingly well on Saturday and got beat 3-0, just one of them days or whatever. But we're still so basic, aren't we?
Yeah, and you know, I think, like you say there, like when you got Iroegbunam there now, if he could be the lad to mop up, I think Idrissa Gana Gueye should be pushing into the box as well, and let Iroegbunam be the one who kind of, if they break, then you've got your back four and you've got Iroegbunam, and he should be able to deal with that, in my opinion. But yeah, when we go forward, we're predictable. It's just long diagonal ball out to Harrison. Hope he can do a bit of magic, cut back in on his left foot and whip one in towards Dom in the box. And it's just, everyone knows what we're going to do. We're easy to set up against. And our play is so slow that, that with Brighton, their tempo's quick. So that's why we're able to, make things happen and break between the lines, because we do things so slow that teams can just get back into their shape.
Yeah.
And then we don't have anything to kind of deal with.
And they had 3 big lads in the middle anyway, didn't they?
Yeah. And then you look at like Decore and Calvert-Lewin, you might as well have just had no one up there, because they just weren't doing anything. I admit, first 20-25 they did okay, but I still think they should have done better, and I still think that we should have punished them. I don't think that the way that they were kind of going at it is kind of half-arsed, in my opinion. And that's why I would have liked to see him die in there, and just to kind of see, because even when Decore gets the ball, he tends to go backwards, or he's quite negative with the ball. He's not a great footballer in general, only scores. He's really good at running, box to box. But I would rather him die someone who's going to be direct and get at teams. And he's the type of player who can go past 3 and bang one in top corner. Decore is not like that.
Or slide one in.
Yeah.
For Dom.
Yeah, because he got, how many assists did he get with Sheffield United as well? I think he got 10 assists, was it?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
He's well able to do both.
I think the thing, I've just looked then again, just to double check, but Dominic Calvert-Lewin, no attempts at goal in the 75 minutes he was on. After Decore had 1 shot that was blocked early on in the first half, and that was it. So from your 2 front men, 1 attempt at goal, and it's a shot that gets blocked, doesn't even get to the goalkeeper. I can have a go at Dom, and I can have a go at people not creating chances for our strikers, but he's got to be able to do a bit himself. He keeps finding himself outside the box. There was one in the first 20 minutes where it come, and I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin won the flick and headed it to Decore, and Decore ran off, and Dom ran into the box, and then Lewis Dunk just went and cut the space. He didn't go out to Decore, but Decore thought he was with him, so hit it first time and put it out. And yeah, if he just looked up, there was 15 yards to just carry the ball, because Dom had got himself in, and Dunk had obviously thought, I'll cut the space, expecting Decore to take the touch, and he didn't. He just thought, I'll put this back in straight away and try to catch them out. And there's like no thought. The keeper actually just caught it. And then there was another one after they scored, I think, where the ball come forward. Dom flicked it on and then went running, and Decore, instead of heading it back towards Calvert-Lewin, just got his head on it and headed it this way, and they just mopped it up. And it was like, if you'd have thought about where you were guarding your header, he was in. You'd have put him in, and there's no sort of link up between them. It's almost like, if there's anything between them, it's like an accident almost, you know what I mean? And I think sometimes, I've said this before with Decore, sometimes at home, he's just out the game. He doesn't go missing, because I don't think, he's not like trying to not get involved, but I just don't think the game suits him. And I always think he's better further back, to be honest, Paul. I think he's better as like an 8 than what he is as a 10. I know he got goals, but I do feel like he's better deeper, because we need something with a bit of craft up there.
Yeah.
Because Dominic Calvert-Lewin doesn't create anything himself and get shots away. That proves it. 0 attempts at goal.
Yeah.
None. As a striker, he should be embarrassed, really, to walk off the pitch as a forward without having a shot. Shouldn't you, really?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
He was unlucky with the pen, I'm sure we'll talk about. So
well, we'll come on to that,
was given...
but that's a different thing, though, isn't it? Because that's you back to goal. I'm talking about the running into space and getting shots away and looking dangerous.
Yeah. He never does that, though. Like, he used to probably before Ancelotti, before he was told to kind of stay in between the goalposts. But like he's never been the type to kind of get in behind, and he's not slow or anything like that. He's just, for whatever reason, he's just never is one that plays on the shoulder to try and get in.
And yet he
could, like, yeah, but one-on-ones you wouldn't fancy him too often. No. But I think he's just one of those where you need to provide the service, or he doesn't really score.
No, well, I think that's a fair point. If we went in 1-0 down, did you expect changes at the break? I did. I thought he might take Decore off, because he just hadn't been in the game for whatever reason. I thought he might sacrifice him and put Ndiaye just off Dom and say, right, come on, we're 1-0 down, first game of the season at home. Let's get the crowd involved. Let's get at these. But he didn't. He left it as it was. I was a little bit surprised.
I was thinking the same, exact same as you. I thought Ndai for Decore straight away, and like we needed to get back into the game. We needed a goal, and we needed to get it quick. And Decore, he like Mikalenko, in my opinion, the two of them just didn't look fit.
No,
I just didn't get the impression, or maybe fitness is the wrong, maybe sharpness. Didn't look in any way sharp at all. When Mikalenko got turned for the goal by Minta, he looked like he was stuck in the mud, and he normally is quite good in one-on-one situation, and he will get better throughout the course of the season, but he just didn't look sharp at all, in my opinion. I would worry if anything happens to him though, in terms of backing him up. But Decore as well, like, and for me, he has a kind of lack of football intelligence, in my opinion, just for his position, because you look at most players in a number 10, like they have to have, he has goals and he has legs. But I think you have to have a bit more than that. Like, you need to be able to supply to your striker or your wingers, or spot a true ball. You don't see him do that. Like, it's literally he runs into the box and he'll score. And if he doesn't do that, he's not contributing.
He's never gonna create himself half a yard, is he, and have a shot from 25. He's not gonna do that. And you see a lot of players who play that position able to do that. You're absolutely right. Threading little through balls, picking the second ball up, travelling with the ball well, going past a couple of players. He's just not got that in his locker. What he is, for me, he's a good box-to-box midfield player. He's done okay, like I say, away from home, because you can play with three. You'd almost have to draw. It's almost 4-5-1 the way we play at home. And therefore, he's running a little bit deeper and he's running beyond the striker. At home, he almost just plays off Dom. But I don't know. So many games, you just look at it and go, you are not affecting this game in any way, shape or form. And yet, we mustn't forget, he had 6 goals before Christmas. Then he got injured and then never scored until the final home game last season, which was a header on the line because Calvert-Lewin had done well. That was it. It wasn't like he's guaranteed goals all the time. He's done well for Sean Dyche, don't get me wrong. I'm not sure anyone scored as many goals for Everton other than Decore since Dyche came in.
Not that I can.
But I still feel, I'm like you, I still feel like in that position, off the striker, you've got to have a bit more. There's got to be an ability to stretch players by going beyond them. There's got to be a little passing, a little round the corner, or you've got to be able to get shots away. I don't think he does any of that. He's a nuisance because he's big. And like you say, running wise, he can get about the pitch. But he did look short Saturday. It looked like his legs had gone. But I don't think that's the case. But I just feel like maybe he's just, for whatever reason, he wasn't sharp. And maybe we'll have to wait 4 or 5 weeks for him to get that true sharpness, as Sean Dyche talks about, because he looked leggy at the weekend.
Yeah, no, you think of someone like Lindstrom or Ndai, would they have been better used in that position? And I think that they would have. I'm not sure he sees Ndai as a 10. I think he probably sees him more as a wide man cutting in. He could see Lindstrom as a 10. I'm not sure, but one of them needs to be given a chance soon. If it keeps up the way it is, I'd imagine that Decore will play next week anyway. And
that mightn't be the wrong decision, by the way, away at Spurs. Going away where, let's be honest about it, but don't think any of us will sit there and think we can get a result.
No.
Doesn't mean we can't, but I mean, going into it, if I said to you, do you expect us to get something at Spurs? You'd probably say,
draw at
no, a draw at very best. Therefore, you know you're in for a tough afternoon. You're going to have to dig in and sit in and work hard. And that probably will suit Decore more than an Ndai or a Lindstrom. But at Goodison, with the onus is on you, and you're up against Brighton, who, James Milner was in there. Not like they're big, not like Rodri is in there policing it, is it? It's Milner. Don't get me wrong, he does a good job, but what I mean is Lindstrom or Ndai through the middle would have been committing them into challenges, where at Decore, the game sort of passed them by. But, you mentioned that you sort of touched on it before. Everton were awarded a penalty 3 minutes into the second half, and I've seen it again, and I still don't understand why it was overturned. I'm not saying stonewall penalty, but it wasn't a clear and obvious error by the referee, because Calvert-Lewin's foot was taken. A few people have said to me, and some of my mates who aren't Evertonians couldn't understand why Mikalenko's wasn't a penalty when Minta in the first half, when he whacked into him, because what they said to me was he went through him, he didn't play the ball, he went through him. He might have got a bit of the ball, but it was and Minta actually had to go off, didn't he, with a concussion thing, because he smashed into him. I don't know. I haven't seen it again. I'm not sure. But the Calvert-Lewin one, I've watched a few times. He's trying to motion himself to turn for a shot. So he puts his foot back to get the spin, and Dunk, for some reason, has gone to ground. And his foot lands on Dunk, who's already moving, so he takes Dom out. Dom doesn't initiate the contact and throw himself, because he's not even looking at him. He's trying to spin and get a shot away. And the referee's close and gives a penalty. And then gets taken to a monitor that isn't working. And then apparently someone hotspotted an iPhone and said, yeah, I'll have a look at that, it isn't a pen. I'm paraphrasing because I didn't see a reserve. It's below me. And the referee was just looking bemused. And then was just like this, as if to go, like, what do we do? And you should only get sent to the screen if it is a clear and obvious error. Yeah. So I thought it was a penalty.
I did too, and it was just like everybody in the stadium was like, "Oh, Stonewall, like, why are they checking the VAR?" Like, it wasn't like he was far away. He was
right on it.
You know, you could see directly to it, and as you say, we've all seen the clips on Twitter and stuff like that of the ref going over to the VAR monitor and not watching the gameplay.
It's a black screen.
Yeah, but they weren't. It was the purple VAR screen, and he was watching that, and there was nothing coming up on it.
No.
So he was just told to just go the other way with it. And if that foul happens anywhere else in the pitch, it's a foul. So why shouldn't it be if it's in the box?
I don't know. It was a strange one. It was a strange one.
But that was a turning point in the game, because if we score that, I think it's a total different result. I think we get back into the game and we have a chance to kind of go for it a little bit more, you know. But I'll let you carry the rest of it.
I mean, listen, we've the amount of times we've been screwed over by VAR, none of us should be surprised, really, should we? And I don't listen. If you're a Brighton fan, you might be going, well, it wasn't intentional by Dunk, therefore it wasn't a penalty. But the penalty is, did it stop him doing what he intended to do, which is turn and get a shot away? Yes, he did. He didn't play the ball, but you got to remember, Dunk didn't play the ball. Yeah. So in my opinion, it's a foul. Other opinions are valid. And then obviously the worst thing goes on that, and we give a goal away. Iroegbunam Gay does really well initially, and then I don't know what he's trying, just misplaces a pass. And it allows Danny Welbeck to just stroll towards our goal. But again, I don't think the defenders covered themselves in glory, either of them. So they've been steaming out and make a decision straight away, and we didn't. We just let him back off to the point where he could see the white of Pickford's eyes and just like passed it into the corner. It was a great finish, but you know, go out and make him do something.
Yeah, I think Pickford wasn't happy with Tarkowski as well. The two of them were arguing.
Him and Keane, the pair of them, because neither of them done anything. Backed off.
Just completely backed off. I think Tarkowski's more probably at fault for the shot, not getting out.
By not getting out, yeah.
Yeah, but I think Welbeck's a very clever player.
Oh yeah.
Very underrated.
Good finish.
Yeah, he's really helped Brighton kind of by kind of mentoring young lads like Evan Ferguson and Joe Pedro, same with Milner. Like, they sign smart like that, whereas they're bringing in a lot of newer players, and then they have experience like a Milner or say
Ashley Young.
Yeah, Milan in the past, but we've got him who will come to, I'm sure. But you know, like, but someone like him, he's been good around the place in terms of the rest from Ashley Young and stuff like that. Whether you like his performances on the pitch, where it really matters, is a different story. But yeah, I think Tarkowski's more at fault for that goal than Michael Keane. I think Michael Keane is never short of getting the blame for stuff, even if he doesn't really do it. I still don't think he should be starting for us. I think he should be a backup. And yeah, so I think it was Tarkowski, but it was Ganagay's fault initially to lose the ball in that position.
Yeah,
I think he beat 2 or 3.
He did. Took them all out with a cup. Back.
Really good play, and then you could hear the moans as soon as he gave it away, and you just saw Welbeck getting closer and closer, and then I said, "Here we go, goal," and good night. That was the game. And
that was it, wasn't it? And again, at that point, I'm sat there talking to people around me like, how are we 2-0 down here? You know, don't get me wrong, wasn't like we were bossing the game and we were playing well, but Brighton had done very little. Like, literally nothing.
They were gifted.
Nothing, and they were gifted to. Yeah. Took them well, don't get me wrong, but we were 2-0 down. And then obviously, Ashley Young goes and gets himself sent. I don't know what he was doing. He was up against probably the quickest player on the pitch, and he's trying to, well, I don't know what he's trying to do. Head it away, and then recover your position, trying to pull it down to give the lad a clear run, and then drags him back. It was a red card. There was no one can say a word.
He knew. He walked down the tunnel pretty quick. You know,
he knew. The manager didn't even look at him. because it was a ridiculous decision. And then I thought from that point, Brighton then sort of showed what a good side they are. They kept the ball, we couldn't get near them. You know, they're a good team anyway, but when you 2-0 up and you're against 10 men, they done exactly what they should do. They popped it around a bit, he freshened the team up. And then they go and make it 3-0 with a Dringer who'd come on when Minter had gone off. And again, another pretty straightforward goal for them. Out to him, he was allowed to just walk his way across the box and just pass it into the corner, and that lovely finish, and you're 3-0 down. And at that point, Everton had gone. You know, Young sent off, McNeil playing at right back when the lad hasn't got a right foot. You know, Jack Harrison asking where he's playing. People looking around as if to go, what are we doing? Because the coaching staff didn't cover themselves in any glory for that point, because they didn't seem to know what they were doing. And then Michael Keane come over with an A4 envelope with some instructions on that was about that big, and I could read it. You know, kick the ball dead far, it said on the thing. Now he brought up the bigger. I mean, Tarkovsky, what do you want to do with that? Normally it's like little in it, and he put it in the sock. It was like they could have made a plane and took a few of them with it. It was crazy. But that Brighton did really well with that advantage, and we couldn't get near them, could we?
No, and I think it was at that point everyone was wondering what way we were going to set up to try and maybe nullify their attacks. You know, will we bring on Jake O'Brien, maybe go with a back three, because obviously you mentioned that McNeil was at right back and stuff like that, and nobody knew what was going on. And then heard rumblings that Holgate was coming on. Where I was sitting in the main stand, I couldn't really see down to where the subs were coming on. Yeah. And he obviously had his jersey ready, and then he was coming on, and at that point everyone's going like, how can you bring him on ahead of Jake O'Brien? At that point in the game, Jake O'Brien has no Premier League experience, the almighty Premier League experience, but bring him on in a back three and just let him, like, at that point no one's going to really care about the scoreline too much. You know, if they got one more goal, which they did, obviously was ruled out, but if they had got another goal, like, no one really would have cared. No one would have been pinning it on him, or he wouldn't have been made a scapegoat, because the game was already lost at that point when Ashley Young got sent off. So I thought that's the perfect moment to bring him on to get his Premier League experience. There was 9 minutes added on then as well, so he would have actually got
about 20 minutes.
He would have got about 20 minutes, which is in Premier League terms to adjust to the pace of it and stuff like that. It probably would have been beneficial for him, as you know. Holgate came on.
Yeah, I mean, Illiman and Dye come on, but obviously we're down to 10 men, and he couldn't really affect it because they just kept the ball well, and when we got it, we gave it away. Beto come on for Dom. And the only thing I'd say what Beto done better than Dom was he knocked their centre-backs about a little bit. He roughed them up a little bit, where Dom hadn't done anything like that. Dom, I thought, didn't have one of his better games in an Everton shirt. And the problem with Dominic Calvert-Lewin is there's a lot of shouts by me. People are now pointing the finger, don't want to be here, go, this, that and the other. Now, he might have had that game anyway, haven't signed a new contract on Thursday for 4 years. Do you know what I mean? It might just been one of them days when it didn't happen for him. The problem is, when you don't seem like you're committed to the football club, people will look for that if it isn't going right.
Yeah.
And he's opened that can of worms at the moment, whereas people will point the finger at him if he's not banging the goals in, because there's a lot of noise still around him. And we were shambolic. Once it went 3-0, we were a shambles. No one knew what they were doing. And that's why I would have put O'Brien on, actually, and I would have put Lindstrom on, because like you've just said, no one's going to be pointing the finger on, we got beat 4-0 because you put O'Brien and Lindstrom on. The game is dead.
Yeah.
But if you put Lindstrom on and go, right, go ahead, go and get 15, 20 minutes running around, and because we're going to be using you this season, get some experience, Jake O'Brien, go at the back, go to 3 at the back and kick it dead far, lad. Just get it away from our goal, and let's, make sure we don't do anything silly. Play with the 3 centre-backs, move it up a little bit. And we didn't. We just sort of went to Mason Holgate. Now, bagging Mason Holgate out, but his future ain't at Everton. He was told a year ago by this manager. In fact, this manager wouldn't entertain him in pre-season last year. If you remember, he was playing for the 21s, and then he got a loan. And yet, he went for him on Saturday to come on over someone we just paid £16 million for. And you wouldn't bet against them starting at Tottenham over the lad we've just paid £16 million for. And I thought that was a little bit odd, I must admit.
Yeah, well, it seemed like the boos were ringing out towards him. I think the fans
Mm.
showed exactly how they felt at that point. I think a lot of
And a
people,
lot got off, didn't he?
yeah, I think a lot of people wanted O'Brien to start, or not to start, sorry, to come on.
Yeah.
They did want him to start as well, but they did want him to come on at that point. And I think having him come on, it was almost like the manager was insulting us a little bit as fans. I felt. I get like Holger can play right back, but he's never been a good right back. You know what I mean? He's always been a, oh, he's a makeshift right back.
But the lad's on a hard, regardless of whether you like Mason Holgate or you want him gone, the lad's on a hard into nothing because he knows, everybody knows he's on his way out. He's got 10 months left on a contract. The manager, like I've just said, they told him last season he didn't want him. You know what I mean? He went on loan to 2 different clubs last year. Everton didn't want him. And you're putting really the lad on. You're putting the lad on 3-0 down at home against Brighton on day one when people have turned up hoping for a little bit different and expectancy. People are leaving the ground and you're putting this lad on who you sort of know what a reaction. It's not going to be met with warm applause, is it?
Yeah.
Whereas if you'd put Jake O'Brien on, like you said, at least people would have been like, well, he's new. Let's get behind the lad, because of course you want to get behind your players, and yet, listen, should have got behind Holgate. I personally think it was 50-50. I think people were booing the sub, and obviously Mason will have got a little bit of that as well, but I just don't think it was very helpful, and I think he could have almost gone off. But listen, we were 3-0 down. There was nothing to lose, so I put 2 of the new lads on to give them some of that experience.
Yeah, but I think you would have got a cheer for bringing the new lads on. I know a cheer's not going to change the result.
No, but it's at least people can have a little look, can't they? Yeah. And you go, oh, here we go. But after that, I mean, I'll be honest, I can't remember too many times I've sat there like that with no one in the ground. Like it was practically empty, the stadium, when that 9 minutes went up. I mean, 9 minutes, 9 more minutes of hell, wasn't it? But it was empty, and I don't know, you know. And then the manager after the game sort of. And again, his comments, there's 2 kind of schools of thought with what he meant by his comments. That's what they do here if we don't win. You know, and a lot of people who have messaged me or I've seen conversations of like, he's a cheeky bastard, basically, because we've been rubbish and we've stuck by him no matter what. And the other school of thought is, well, he's challenging the fans. Well, if you're challenging the fans, tell them. Say, why are you leaving? We need your support to the very last seconds. Put it on the crowd, but don't do it in a way where, because how it's being repackaged by media as well and by other people is, we're basically all spoilt, and if we don't get our own way, we all leave and we don't back the team. When nothing could be further from the truth. The only reason this football club is still in the Premier League, in my opinion, isn't Sean Dyche, it's the fans, because they dragged the team over the line when Lampard was the manager, and they dragged the team over the line when he came in, and they dragged the team over the line last season. Yeah. The fans with there, the
points deductions and so on.
Points deductions, they went with it. The demonstrations, the 1878. You know, is he having a go with them for dressing the stadium on Friday for 3.5 hours, putting the flags out and getting everything ready for Saturday? I know he wasn't, but it can be interpreted like that. The fans are the biggest asset of this club, so we all have to be in it together. So I think he's just got to be a little bit careful with his word. And if he wants to challenge us and say, why are you leaving when we need you? Say it. Say it, put it right out there. He doesn't seem like a shrinking violet to me. So don't leave anything open to interpretation. Come out and go, you lot got off when you shouldn't have done. The lads needed you. Where were you? That's not what we do here. We stick together. Make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't do it where it was, because a lot of people have read it, and I'll be honest, I read it like he was like, we're spoilt and entitled, and nothing could be further from the truth in my eyes anyway.
Yeah, well, he needs to give us something to be shouting for. At the moment, we've nothing to shout for, so he's going to be smart about it. Give us something to shout about. What do you want us to do? 3-0, potentially 4-0 till they get the disallowed goal. I think that's when most people left. That was before the 9 minutes went up, I think.
Yeah, round about that.
Yeah, so I think that was as soon as people saw that 4th goal go in, that was when I saw a lot of people. I stayed till the end, but I was just surprised that it was disallowed. I was like, thank God. Because 4-0 sounds so much worse than 3-0, even though 3-0 is bad. But 4-0 just sounds so much worse. So I was kind of glad that it was stayed at 3-0, but I still was thinking the subs there that should have came on. And you've given us nothing to shout about because you brought on Holgate, you have Michael Keane, Ashley Young starting as well. So you've given us nothing to shout about or get behind. And then you're criticising, saying that that's what we do here when we don't get our way. But it's like all we're asking for is a team to show something, and we got nothing.
I mean, it is one thing we have to keep, obviously, in mind that it's day one.
Yeah.
You know, and we started last season awfully, didn't we? And we haven't started this season very well. And it's the last 3 Premier League seasons we've kicked off at Goodison, haven't scored a goal and lost all the games. So that hasn't been, you know, we've kept consistent anyway. That's one way to look at it. And there is, you know, there's 37 more games to go. I haven't changed my mind, but I think Everton will finish it. Even if we'd have beat Brighton, if they'd been the other way around and we'd have won 3-0, I wouldn't be going, we can get Europe. I'd be thinking, right now, I still think we'll finish between 11th and 14th. And I do. It wasn't like we were outclassed at the weekend. Brighton, I think I've said this before, Brighton come to Goodison when we have Frank Lampard as the manager, and they blew us apart. They absolutely battered us. I don't think it was like that at the weekend. Like you said, 2-0, I was sort of scratching my head how we were losing the game. And I think they're a good side. So I think we'll be okay. But we do need a little bit more because it just feels all hands to mouth. And I know there's a lot of problems around the club. But I keep banging on about it. I don't understand how we've got to this stage again and we haven't bought anyone who can run. No one with pace. You know, we kept joking about it last week, Paul, but I know you're big on social media stuff. You will have seen Everton's like social, the 4x100 metres, who would be in your team, and our players are looking, Brantwaite's like going, who's fast? And he's like looking around the gym, like trying to have his memory jog that we have a quick player. And it's like, Premier League's all about pace. How do we not? How can our players not pick 4 lads who are quick? You know, so it all to me comes down to recruitment. The recruitment is not being good enough at this football club for years. You can get fast players. It's a big world out there, but if we keep having to defer to Premier League experience, then we are knackered what we're doing because we ain't got the money to be able to always buy Premier League experience. And I think this manager is good. And don't get me wrong, he's had a difficult time at this club because this club has had a difficult time, and he's come in, he's done well to keep everything kind of like level. But he's still got to be better. He's still lost more games than he's won. And that ain't a great record, you know, 35. I think it's his worst win percentage since he had Watford. So it's not great.
Yeah.
And for me, you need to add pace into that. But what he has to do, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, he's going to have to bend a little bit with that Premier League experience, because we're talking about Yankuba Minter roasting Michalenko early on. Well, he was a yes from Dominic Calvert-Lewin from wearing the top you've got on Saturday. So they've been playing for us. But the irony is, he'd have been sat on the bench.
Yeah.
Because Harrison and McNeil would have played. No matter what he'd done in pre-season, he would have played. But that's where I think he's got to bend. Let's finish on a positive note. Tim Iroegbunam, who wouldn't have been playing had James Garner been fit, let's be honest. But Tim Iroegbunam, who I think's had a really good pre-season for Everton, got better and better. And he was Everton, in my opinion, I give him man of the match, he was Everton's best player at the weekend. And I thought he showed real signs. He did in the end. We did drag him down to our level for the last 15. And he did look a bit tired. But I thought overall, he was comfortably Everton's best player.
Yeah, 100% agree. I thought Harrison was good as well, but Iroegbunam was the standout player on our team for sure. I think with Iroegbunam, he's kind of like a surprise package. I must admit, hadn't heard of him before he came to us.
Yeah.
And then I was hearing he was highly rated and stuff like that. Obviously, Dobbin went the other way. And I was thinking, all right, well, it's another midfield player. Let's see how he gets on. I didn't expect him to be starting the first game of the season, but as you say, James Garner was out. But I'm glad he did, because this now gives us an opportunity that if Garner isn't fit, or another midfielder that we know that he can come in and do a job, and if he continues to play like he did at the weekend, you can't really drop him, in my opinion, because he was so good. Like, he was winning tackles. He's like a perfect Everton player, because we all know kind of like if we're drawing or we're trying to come back in a game and someone makes that challenge, it's almost like a goal. It gets the crowd up, you know. And I think he did that a few times in early on in the game, and then he was able to carry the ball. He nearly scored as well. So he looks like he has everything, and I think the more games he plays, the more he'll develop, and the better he'll be. So I'm hoping it's just not a flash in the pan. It's not just a one game where he's brilliant. I'm hoping now he can get 3-4 games before Garner comes out and keep Garner out of the team. And that's nothing about James Garner. It's just if he's playing the way he's playing, he shouldn't be dropped.
No, absolutely. I mean, his numbers, 50% of his take-ons. He completed 13 ball recoveries, more than anybody on the pitch. I mean, don't know where I've got the stats, 9 out of 9 tackles when everyone else says he made 5 tackles, but he won 100% of his tackles, 4 interceptions, 1 out of 1 clearance made, committed 1 foul, was fouled as well, the most attacking third passes. You know, a good, solid performance, ball carries as well. I think he had more ball carries than any other Everton player. So he's, and again, the irony of that is he hasn't played in the Premier League. He's hardly played for Villa in the Premier League. You can't say that that's Premier League experience by the manager. So, you know, the irony is he wouldn't have been playing if James Garner was fit, and yet he was Everton's best player. So I'm hoping the manager sort of goes, oh, well, Tim done it, so maybe one of these can do it as well.
Yeah, the only shining light is the fact that Ndiaye actually did come off the bench, so he's got his experience now, so he could potentially play. I don't think he'll start against Spurs, but if maybe the next home game he could potentially start, and then if he gets a goal or affects the game in some positive manner, that he might then decide to stick with him. But Decore is his guy, you know. So,
well, I mean, the next home game's to finish, but the next home game is Bournemouth at home, and that's it. If Everton don't win at Tottenham, and you know, I think the likelihood is they won't, but you never know. It's football, so you never know. Then there's a lot of pressure on the next home game then. And I don't think we can turn up and just do the same again and go, let's keep it tight and knock it long and hopefully get the second. You know what I mean? I think we're going to have to. What I wanted to see from Sean Dyche this season, and I think he did this a little bit towards the end of the season when we started winning the games. The Burnley game wasn't great. We won the game. But then the other games, like Liverpool and stuff, we took the game to them. Forest at home, we took the game to them. You know, and I thought we'd start on the front foot. Don't forget, we'd won 5 straight home games. You know, it was last season, but we'd won the last 5 home games before Saturday, and we'd gone at each team a little bit more. And I was hoping we'd start on the front foot. I don't mind us going away, playing 10 at the back and trying to nick a point and seeing what you get off set pieces. Because that's what you're there to frustrate those teams. But at home, I wanted us to start on the front foot. And I hope that he's a little bit more committed to that, and it is through the likes of Ndiaye and Lindstrom at Goodison, and there's 11 days left of the window. I hope Everton bring in some pace. Match stats, we will from now on have them all on the screen, but 38% possession for Everton, 10 men, you'd expect that. 9 shots for the Toffees, 10 for Brighton, but only 1 on target, and that was the Harrison one early on, which Steele said. 5 for Brighton, but 3 goals. In that, you expect that, don't you? Clear-cut chances, 2 for Brighton. None for Everton. 8 fouls each, and 1 yellow card each, and 1 red card for Ashley Young. So, a disappointing opening day, it must be said. Must do better, I think, would be the report card for that.
100%. It was embarrassing towards by the end of it.
No, it was by the end. Fair play to Brighton. They put us to the sword when they had the advantage, didn't they? They look like a good side after that, but we go again, don't we? Spurs, tough one. Players out injured, players out suspended. We'll see what he does. We are going to be continuing on Premier now. We're going to go over there, and me and Paul. Your questions for your Premier members. Get your thoughts in about the game. Any point you want to make, and we will be discussing it. If you want to become a Toffee TV Premier member, the link is in the description. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Also check out Irish Football Fan TV. Give Paul a subscribe as well. Thanks for watching. See you later.